Hello, everyone. It's the hardcore legend Mick Foley wishing a nice day to everyone there, right there at True Heel Heat. Yeah.
Hello. It is me, your True Hill Phenom, SP3. We are here to honor the soul and the spirit and the passing of Heels as we review Heels Season 2, the final season
What?
of
What do you mean
Heels
final season?
on Starz. Yes, the final season of Heels on Starz.
Did I miss
We
something?
yeah, we got the news this week right before we were recording. Lucky for us, we decided to hold it back for a week because we were supposed to record it last week.
Right.
And yeah, the news came this week. Heels on Starz has been canceled. Another tragedy of the writer's strike. But let me introduce our
Oh my
panel
God,
here.
no. What?
All
How am I supposed to
folks
find out?
that
Damn
have
it.
watched both seasons of Heels. First up, we have over here on the top here, we got the man of 1,004 numbers. He's the Stat King. How you doing?
What's going on, guys? Stars crunched the numbers, and the numbers told them that they had to cancel Heels. I don't know if that's a wise decision. Hopefully, it'll
Nobody
get picked up
watched the
somewhere
season?
else. But yeah, so because of the strike, they weren't able to do a lot of promo for the show. A lot of the actors weren't able to talk about it.
Oh.
So the ratings took a little bit of a hit. Now, also, there was a gap between when season 1 aired and when season 2 came out. So
Right.
that they say you got to go away in order for people to miss you, but in this instance,
Still.
maybe a little bit sooner of the return.
Yeah, should have been last year, maybe. We have also over here, you hear her reacting live on the air here. My co-host on the True Hill Heat flagship podcast is Miss Krssi Love.
This is devastating. I'm really, really so upset. This was better than season 1, and I don't get it. This was so good, and they Netflix, Hulu, somebody, Amazon, call out, please. We need you.
Tubi.
Paramount.
We'll take Tubi. We'll take Tubi at this point.
I'll watch it with the commercials for Tubi. If I could watch it on something like somebody. Please pick up this show. WWE. Pick somebody. Got Tony Khan. Somebody. You used to be friends with what's his name?
Court Bauer.
There you go. Come on.
Court
call
Bauer.
them.
Scott Demore.
Pick it up, please.
Calling on everybody. Gato. Come on, Gato.
Come
on.
We gotta get somebody, please. Oh, come on. The girl that was in the show, she was on a Netflix show. You could call them and ask them to help us out. We need a fund. Okay, we need some super chats or something to get this going back together, please. This is devastating. I'm so sad.
And then finally, we have the person that I reviewed season 1 of Heels 2 years ago. Talking about that gap
Pandemic,
between season 1 and season 2. 2 years ago, it's Chris G. How you doing, Chris G?
Man, 2 seasons was not enough.
Not enough. No.
Highly disappointed. A lot of negatives with this show being canceled, but the one positive I can say, to the dismay of StatKing, no more fucking Ricky Ravies on my screen.
Oh, come
Love
on.
It. Love it.
Get him out of
MVP
here.
right there.
Get him
That's a season MVP right there. You're killing me, man.
What season? What were you watching?
Damn.
He had about maybe less than 50 words he said on the season.
That's okay.
It's not always about, you don't always have to be
right. So it's your presence. Yep.
He had
less screen time.
He had less screen time than UFC ring time or octagon
wow.
time.
Damn.
But yes, we're here
That's
to discuss
fine already.
Heels on Starz season 2 in depth. We'll go episode by episode and talk about some of the characters. Let us know in the comments what you thought about Heels season 2, what you thought about Heels season 1, the show overall. Did you watch? What did you think? Did you hear about it and just didn't watch it? I blame all you people that heard about it and didn't watch it. I blame
so
all
good,
you.
man. Yeah,
all
we
of
finally
you.
get a good show about that shows wrestling. shows the behind the scenes, what it takes to put it in, and you fuckers didn't even like it.
They canceled
While
this
it-
and Winning Time and
Oh
Winning
yeah,
Time.
I heard about that. Damn, it's just a bad
while
time.
it was
2
airing,
seasons, yo.
it was the best weekly wrestling show on TV.
What's the DWL? The DW,
DWL, man.
one of the greatest faction, one of the greatest interpromotional rivalries I've ever seen.
Yo,
Armageddon, what a name, Armageddon.
Armageddon. We're gonna talk all about that, so let us know in the comments. And of course, we appreciate y'all if you're watching this on the premiere when it premieres on the YouTube channel, because we were gonna just put this on Patreon, but to honor this show, we're gonna
Yeah.
put it we gotta put it on the main channel for everyone to see and talk about heels. So let us know in the comments what you thought and show some love by dropping a thumbs up on the video. Share this video with all your wrestling fans, friends, and family on all your favorite social media platforms. And if you're new to the True Hill Heat YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button and hit the bell to stay notified for all the great content here. But yes, let's talk about heels. Season 2. So season 2 was following up from everything that went down in season 1 with the state fair, with you had the three-way matchup with Wild Bill versus Ace and Jack Spade in a ladder match that just totally breaks down when Gully shows up from the FWD and gets the crowd to chant for Jack, which gets in Ace's head. And then Jack finally admits to Ace that he was the one that put the Kleenexes in the crowd the first time when they start throwing Kleenexes this time. So he punches him. We get a whole brawl between the two brothers. And then Crystal comes in. Bunny Bombshell takes off her headwear and then winds up winning
ears.
the DWL championship. So all of that was kind of like the backdrop for what went down in this opening episode, which was kind of just we saw some
backstory.
we saw some of like the fallout, but we got really the backstory in what I call an episode that probably should have been the pilot for the show, honestly, in my opinion. It's called 10 Bell Salute. So we go back to when Tom Spade, Ace and Jack's father, first passed away. They go back to the funeral. When they're there, they go back to when Jack first shows up, because we saw when Ace found the body in season 1, but we never saw what happened after that. So we saw what happened with Jack showing up, consoling his brother, and then covering the body, and then the mom showing up. We see the funeral. We see like a reception after the funeral at the dome, the DWL arena. And then we see how basically Ace and Jack start talking, and they want to pay tribute. All the guys want to pay tribute to Tom and want to give him a 10 bell salute. So they want to do one last show, and it's basically Ace versus Jack in the matchup. This is the first time they're going at it. First matchup for Ace, and Ace winds up winning, and he gets the crown for that used to be for King Spade, Tom, their father. So nice little thing. They talk about in the matchup, Ace wants to go to the top rope, but Jack's like, no, you shouldn't. But in the end, he does wind up doing the same move that his dad used to do, the elbow drop off the top rope to get the win. So we'll start with you, Krssi Love. What did you think about this first episode here and getting like the backstory to how the DWL was kind of reborn under Jack and Ace?
I totally agree with what you just said as how it should have been more of like the pilot, like the backstory, like the beginning of how everything started, how they got into it. But solid first episode. But like if you didn't even watch the first season, this was a good way for you to introduce you to this second season of like what we had already for the first previous 8 episodes. So yeah.
What about you, Chris?
I actually liked how they structured this because it kind of foreshadows going forward in the season. When they come together in their darkest moments. You know what I mean? And it's coming off the last episode where they're in their darkest moments. So it kind of lays the groundwork for the rest of the season. So I like the way it was structured.
I like that actually.
Yeah. Yeah, there was a lot of foreshadowing for what
This
we would
season.
see in the season with like the little tidbit with going to the top rope with Ace. There was also a little scene with the mom, Mama Spade, and Wild Bill, where she kind of like tried to guilt trip Wild Bill, said that he never helped and stuff like that, which is a common thing that would be that actually was said in season 1, and then we finally would
find
get
out.
the backstory on
Yep.
that as well. But yeah, StatKing, what did you think about 10 Bell Salute, the first episode of season 2?
I think it was good. It just kind of it felt a little disjointed because of the numbers of jumps back and forth kind of thing. Like it felt like that part of it was a little disjointed to me. But overall, I did like it because it really kind of reinforced the idea. If you didn't already know, that Ace has not been wrestling for a long period of time, it really reinforced that he's only been wrestling since the father passed away, and the father passed away only about a year ago. So now, when you it helps for me to kind of reframe Ace's wants and desires and why, yeah, we get it. He's supposed to be new to the business and whatnot in that first season as we're going through it. But when he's asking Jack, like, what does it mean when your boots don't have scuffs? Like in the first season when he's asking him that, you just go, oh yeah, maybe he just doesn't know, like whatever.
Right,
but then when you start really thinking about, oh, has only been doing this for a year, and he had to pick it up so quickly and was able to do it, you can start to understand Ace's kind of sense of entitlement, because he's never had to work that hard at doing this. It's always just come naturally to him. So for him, he's like, why shouldn't I be champion? Like I beat you the very first match I won the crown. Why am I not getting the title back in season 1? So for that, it kind of helped for me set where he was going to go throughout this season, his kind of overarching road to redemption, so to speak.
Yeah, that is a good point. It did foreshadow a lot and kind of tell the story, kind of complete. It kind of did complete the story of season 1 by going back to in time. So it did kind of fulfill it being in the first episode of season 2 here. So we go to season 2, episode 2, which is The Journey is the Obstacle. The description has the episode as Ace begins what he hopes will be his journey of spiritual awakening. Back in Duffy, we have the collective elation from the South Georgia State Fair is fading fast. The financial vultures are circling after the DWL success. So basically, with DWL coming off the heels and everybody's talking about how well they did at the Georgia State Fair, everybody's trying to get all their money, and we kind of this was something else that was kind of foreshadowed in season 1, but we really kind of felt it in season 2, and they kind of just put it up in your face that DWL is not good when it comes to finance or anything, whether it comes to the dome, whether it comes to past bills and all this other stuff. It really came to the forefront, and this was like the episode that was like hello, we're here. And then when we have with Ace, he's kind of going on this like journey. He's driving, he's stopping at certain places, and he just doesn't have any type of social skills. One guy is nice to him at a diner because he's only eating toast. So because he basically has no money, and the guy wants to be nice to him and actually give him a meal, and he wants to be a dick to him and winds up stealing the guy's money after the guy pays for his meal and walks out. He steals his money, and
he's
then
like an entitled brat.
Then the waitress comes out, yells at the guy, and is like, "You didn't pay," and he pays again, and he's like, he tells him, he was like, "You think the world just owes you something, so keep it." So yeah, I think that was like the first time he got awakened. Then he goes to like a store and he's trying to get like stuff to go on like a hike, and the guy's trying to help him and telling him you should get some boots and stuff, and he's just like focused, like no, they got some grip on them. He's like, all right. And the episode ends with Ace basically listening to a voicemail from Jack, who's now going off to look for him, and he falls off a cliff.
I was like, what are we doing here? Like, what's happening?
I was like,
little
yes,
spoiled, like little
it would be Ace. It would be
entitled.
Ace.
Yes.
Meanwhile, you have Gully is kind of responding to everything that's gone on. In the first episode, he cuts like a whole promo trying to badmouth how DWL had a valet win the matchup. Then you got then he's like basically trying. Then he hears that Wild Bill and Diego have a podcast and they're talking trash about him as well. So then the DWL, Willie is in charge at this point. She's put in charge by Jack, and she's trying to figure out what to do next with Crystal as the champion. They plan on doing the whole thing with her and the dad. Not everybody's listening to Willie at the time, so Willie kind of tries to empower Wild Bill to kind of take control of things. And then they get a message that basically there's like a prohibition against male on female violence, female on male violence, because this linebacker throws his wife into a TV, and they actually show it. I was like, wow, that's wild. They show this other person like punching the person in the like Ray Rice in the elevator and stuff. So it's just like they're like, no, we can't do it. We got to have Crystal. We got to come up with a women's league at the end. So
I love how they use
I basically
life.
combined. I just realized I basically combined season 2, episode 2, and season 2, episode 3, because they basically combined.
Kind of, yeah. Listen, they use real life and things that happen, real life headlines of like football player like beating up his wife and using it. It's like, oh, now we can't have women wrestle guys when they can train with each other. So now all of a sudden they want to be all political. I'm like, no, we can't do these things. Like, yeah, okay.
Yeah, because season 2, episode 2 is the one where basically they have the first matchup at the Dome where Crystal wins. They do a triple threat match. They basically come up with a whole angle about how the what happened at the State Fair didn't count, and Crystal is stripped of the title. She gets a contract, but it's Wild Bill versus Jack in the main event. It's supposed to be Ace, but they say they open it to anyone, and Crystal comes in. She cuts a whole promo saying she's the baddest bitch in the DWL. And she winds up winning by grabbing the title while Bill pushes over the ladder, and she winds up crawling up the rope and holding off on the title. So that's how season 2, episode 2 ends. So we'll start with StatKing this time. What did you think about this one?
So, I first off, the episode title of The Journey is the Obstacle. I really like that because that's a stoicism thing, that the obstacle is the way. Like when you have difficulty in life, you're not supposed to shy away from it or be upset that you have it, because that obstacle, like, you have to do, like, you have to deal with life, and that the journey through the obstacle, that itself is the reward. Like, be happy that you have this difficulty to deal with. So I like that of the episode title, and then what Ace is listening to in the car, of being able to visualize where you're going and find a new journey for yourself. That also is cool. Following up on the entitlements, it's just more and more of him not realizing that people are trying to look out for him, but he doesn't know how to accept help. He doesn't know how to be able to deal with people trying to help him in that sense. And the in its own way, his issues are juxtaposed with Jack's, who's having to deal with the son not being in school because of the fighting. And that one was a big thing, because it's, to your point about the violence that you see on TV, or the violence that people perpetrate in real life. How does that affect people around us, or how does that affect the viewer? So I thought that was an interesting thing to kind of to pull on a little bit, because as we'll see later, Jack has to swallow a certain pill if he wants to get out of a lawsuit, and he has to play the game of a much more violent group of people. So I don't. Do you want me to talk about the third episode too, or
No, we can
Okay.
wait because there's like
Gotcha.
the final part of the
Yeah,
episode
yeah.
3 that we had to touch on.
Yeah.
Chris, what did you think about episode 2 here? I also want to mention I like the whole Crystal dynamic here, where
Mhm.
she was
Yeah.
kind of showed the same entitlement that we're talking about with Ace
Mhm.
in this episode, where
That's true. You're right. I forgot about that. Yeah.
she got a lot of the praise from the state fair. Like even Willie pointed out, you got a whole monologue. I got a few sentences. I'm running the whole show backstage and stuff. And I like how that kind of like created the whole dynamic between Willie and
And
Crystal for
her.
the
Mhm.
season here. So
Yeah.
I wanted to mention that as well. Chris, what did you think about episode 2 here?
Oh, it definitely set the tone for Willie and Crystal's relationship. It's
Yeah.
like that envious, but I still want to see you do better. Don't make the same mistakes I did type shit. As you'll see, as you go on throughout the season. But anybody, I don't know. I don't know. I thought for a moment that Ace borderline had like Asperger's, because my man has no social cues. He can't pick up no social cues. He can't. He don't know when somebody's being funny, somebody's being sarcastic. He don't know when somebody's
He was
being
annoying.
nice.
He was annoying.
He doesn't know a damn thing. For him falling off a cliff, I mean, is very, very fitting for Ace.
Yes.
Dumbass.
The whole restaurant shit, I kind of felt bad for the guy. But then he kind of felt bad at the end because the money he did steal, he does give it to the waitress for the tip. So, you could kind of see the little bit of growth, yes, transpiring, through that episode for Ace, even though he ends up on a tree with his fucking leg all messed up at the end of it. Crystal.
Karma. It's called karma. That's what you get for breaking his leg.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
You thought we forgot?
The Crystal dynamic is interesting though. She's a very at first, at the end of the season, you kind of like guess, where they're gonna go with that, and then they did a good job of establishing her in the beginning as like a real main character in the beginning of this season, at least.
Yeah.
And also another relationship that they did a good job of kind of setting the tone for this season with in this episode was Jack and Wild Bill. Because this was when Wild Bill goes to Jack and he's like telling him like he's here to help. He gives him the notebook with some of his ideas. And then also you have that whole meeting afterwards when they put over Crystal and they have their like talking and they have a beer together and they're talking backstage. So I think they did a good job there, which made the final scene they had together at the end of the season mean more because of that this episode here.
Yep.
Agreed.
So going to season God.
Sorry, there's one thing I wanted to add because I remembered. I felt terrible. Like I felt terrible for Jack when he's standing there in the parking lot trying to argue with Stacy about the school kid situation, because it's like he's to me he was absolutely right. Like I don't like these people don't know the kid at all. Like how are you gonna sit there and tell me that he's a violent kid and all this kind of stuff? And like then also I put on the lawyer hat. I'm like, yeah, they're just trying to avoid a lawsuit. Like that's all they're trying to do, because she's like, well, until Congress defines what inciting words means, we are going to punish both of these kids. And it's like, well, one of them really didn't do anything. Like, he was just defending himself. Like he told the kid what was going to happen. He got shoved. He punched him back. Like, what do you want from him?
And I mean, the kid started it. He shouldn't have put his hands on me. I was just defending myself. I was innocent.
Facts.
Yeah, I usually have to be the more level-headed of the two of us when it comes to our kids, when it comes to me and my missus. So I do understand playing the game. So I understood what Stacy was coming from. I know you're right, but like that's not what they wanted to hear. You made that meaning a lot worse.
They're gonna take you back. Sorry.
We know where Krssi stands. Thanks. So going back to
Krssi Spade. So Krssi
Spade. Krssi Spade.
Because if you fight my son and I find you, I'm fighting you and your parents. Play with me if you want to. I fight kids. I don't care.
That's a warning, y'all. But yeah, season 2, episode 3 is entitled Discord. The description reads: Jack goes on the road to find Ace. The DWL has been left in the hands of Willie, who uses the opportunity to start developing a women's division with Crystal. Gully comes to town with an offer the DWL can't refuse. So I kind of talked about it, how they had that whole plan to do Crystal and the dad, but then the whole prohibition comes down about the violence between men and women. So that kind of is like at the end, kind of went over that whole DWL story with Willie in charge and all that. They also get a video screen in this episode.
Yeah, they was really hyped about that. Like, how y'all have no video screen? But they ain't had no money, so that's why.
Meanwhile, Ace finally gets found by this I guess like lesbian couple who are doing like rock climbing, and they bring him back to his motel,
I'm
and
dead.
they're being nice to him, and he thinks that means that they want to have sex with him.
The best part of the fucking
I'm about to
episode.
say
That was hilarious.
He was like, you think every person that's nice to you wants to have sex with you?
He's like, yeah.
He's like,
He's like, you want to get some beers, do some drugs, have some sex.
he's like, oh
That's his
man.
pickup line. That was
He's
his
like,
pickup
oh man, I thought this was the vibe. What fucking vibe were you? We just saved your life, you dirty fuck.
He doesn't know how, again, this is where we say social skills. He doesn't know how to read the room.
Nope.
No, not
He
at all.
definitely didn't read that room.
That's actually the line that she says to him, like, read the room.
Read the room, sir. But finally, Jack pulls up on him at the motel. They have a long conversation. This is probably one of the better conversations they've had, where they kind of lay everything out on the table, and kind of like at first Ace is doing his usual thing where he tries to just put everything on Jack, and it's all Jack's fault, and Jack wasn't honest with him. But Jack is very humble and has some humility in this situation, realizing that he did wrong, and keeps asking Ace to come home. But Ace finally realized that a lot of this is on him, and he was like, I'm the guy that told you were going to stay in Duffy and kill yourself like your dad. I'm that guy. I'm that guy. So he was like, I know a lot of what happened to me after saying that is on me. Is basically on me because I said
ownership, taking responsibility.
He talks about how he broke Bobby's leg, and he's like, he had to leave the DWO because nobody liked me. He's like, he's never really had friends. He had Insta friends because he was always in sports and stuff. And this was like a total breakdown of the Ace character, like just tore him down to pieces, and it was just like it made him a lot more likable than season 1 did. Because he totally broke down his own character so well. So he finally
spoiled brat. Entitlement.
Yeah.
Everybody in this season became more likable except for their mom.
You know what? That's you're right.
Everybody became more likable except for the mom.
The mom is just like, I can't.
She's a part of the problem. That's
probably disliked her. I probably disliked her more. It's like no wonder why King Spade offed himself. Sweet Jesus.
Yeah. Damn. But you know, I can't argue with you.
Right. I'm about to say
this was
right.
This is probably the most eventful of the first 3 episodes, because at the end here, a couple of things happen. First, you get Jack. He comes back to Duffy. Him and Willie lets him know about the whole prohibition thing, and he doesn't really show his appreciation for Willie being in charge here. And I think that starts Willie's kind of resentment towards Jack and the DWL that we would see throughout the season here, and start drinking a lot more throughout the season. And then she leaves out, and then we start hearing rocks being thrown at the window, and it's none other than Gully in the DWL ring, and he was let in by Rooster, who still had a spare key. We saw little things with Rooster before this, with like his dad and stuff.
Yeah.
like buying him a new bed and stuff, and him and Gully talking, and him being the one that told Gully they were talking about him on the podcast, and then he's the one that lets Gully into the DWL arena, and then he's got his cousin with him, man in the spotlight, and he basically lays it all out on the table that basically he wants to do a interpromotional warfare. He wants to do one card DWL versus FWD, FWD, and he talks about how the clip of Jack punching Gully is basically the most watched on their YouTube channel, so there's a lot of business to do, so they got to pay off on it. Jack turns him down numerous times over and over again, and he's like, the olive branch is in my ass, I need you to pull it out of my ass, and he's turning him down. So eventually he's like, all right, jig is up, come out, and he's got a lawyer, and he's like, you punch my client, you got on it. Like, I was like, man, I would have just said yes at that point. Like, I was like, why are we making this more difficult than it needs to be? This gonna help you. Like, what?
Right, you don't see the dollar signs there. Like, your company's failing, friend. Like,
hey,
it's
Jack,
pride.
Jack,
baby.
He's a good old boy. He's a good old boy.
He get it from his daddy. That's the problem.
Yes, exactly. So yeah, he basically says you're gonna get this lawsuit, and he's gonna take him to court and take him for everything he owns if he doesn't do the interpromotional warfare. So we had that. Then he comes home. Stacy has been away from home since season 1, since the end of season 1. They've been talking over the phone. They had their little meeting, like you said, like John said, in the second episode with after Thomas's meeting for his school. And then Thomas basically has like a coming to Jesus moment with Stacy. Like, I want to see my dad. Like,
what are you
got me
doing?
sleeping on the goddamn floor. You got me sleeping on the goddamn floor. Like, what are we doing here? Like, I want to, like, my dad said I could go back to school. I could be back. Like, what are we doing here? And like, yeah, she finally relents. She goes back home. So she's there when Jack comes back home. They have a nice little breakfast together. Then they get a knock on the door, and it's none other than Ace, who had a nightmare the night prior of Crystal coming in and twisted his ankle, a broken leg Bobby coming in and trying to say we're gonna whoop his ass, and shot head Tom Spade coming out of the bathroom with like a skull kind of coming out of his head. Oh man, it was ridiculous. But yeah, he comes home. He says mom doesn't want him home, so can he stay with Jack? And Thomas is like, oh, Uncle Ace. So it's a nice little ending here. What did you think about season 2, episode 3 here, Chris?
Oh, Ace. It was a good episode to see like the breakdown and the beginning of the rebirth of the Ace Spade character. And then I mean, it's always good to see Jack, I got my family back. Feel good again. Jack Spade's back on top. It was cool. I enjoyed the episode. That fucking dream tripped me out though. I remember when I was first watching it, I was like, oh, why she did him like that?
Yeah.
And I
was like, how did Crystal even get there?
Exactly.
Right.
I was like, how did Crystal get here?
I was tripped out. And then I see the Bobby pin foot and the whole leg. I'm like, oh, all right, this motherfucker, he's tripping.
Yeah.
He ate some wrong mushrooms.
I said the same thing. I was like, he either smoked something or he ate something really, really, like he's on a real high trip. Like the edibles done went to a different level, son.
He had those 100 milligram joints. You got chill, Ace.
He was on that good.
Yeah.
Christy, what did you think about episode 3 here?
Solid episode. I think it was after one of the things. I think 3 was like one of the best ones once you read 1 through 3. And I loved how like the son was like just being real with his mom, like, yo, like, what we doing here, son? Like, we here because of you. Like, I don't want to be here. Like, you doing all of this. No one else but you. Like, you're the one that's holding on the cards. Like, don't try to act like woe is me when it's you. Like, dad was just doing what dad just actually does. Like, he's been trying, but you won't let him. Like, and I want to see my dad. So, but yeah, the nightmare with that Ace had, I was like, yo, like I thought he like really had, like he was tripping. Like I was like, what's happening? And then Like the whole thing with Crystal, I was like, yo, it's the karma. It's like, it's what you have to like go through these things because you cause havoc. You was like you was a shitty person to people.
Yeah, he had to kind of think, like, have that coming to Jesus and kind of think about everything that he's done to kind of bring himself to this point of his life. Stat King, what did you think about episode 3 here?
I liked everything about this episode. The only thing that I kind of wish was that he had been lying there hurt a little bit longer. I felt like he got rescued a little too quickly,
Too
a little
fast,
too
yeah.
conveniently, and like and then like the idea that he gets back, like she's charging his phone, and that's how Jack's able to find him, because then it pops back up on the Find My Phone thing. It just felt like he needed to sit down for a little
Suffer
bit
some
longer.
more.
Yeah, like so, like, and I get that there's only
I get
8
it.
episodes.
Yeah.
Like they gotta get things going, but like a part of me just wanted him to have to sit with a little bit more,
Like a
with
good
his
48
own-
hours.
with his own thoughts, like with his own thoughts, as opposed to him coming to the conclusions that he needed to change, he needed to be better. Part of that is fueled by the conversation with Jack. But I would have liked it if it had just more of it had come from himself, like just even if it had just been like a couple seconds of him just sitting there trying to like rub his foot or whatever to get blood flowing and everything, and he's just looking at it and going, like, you see him looking at it, and you can see him thinking Bobby's leg, like just something like that. I think it would have made it a little bit even better than the episode already was.
Yeah.
But it hit like every single thing that it needed to hit, because on the one hand we have Jack and Ace having the conversation finally. We have Stacy coming home, but then on the flip side we have Crystal having to she's told, can you go 10 minutes, can you go 15 minutes, can you go 30 minutes? That's a main event match. And then we see her in the ring trying to go through the motions and putting a match. And she's like, how long was that? And she's being told the time. And she's like, fuck. Like, I'm going to have to figure something out if I want to do what it is that I want to do. And I'm getting this opportunity. I have to make the most of it. So it hit like basically everything that it needed to hit. And from that perspective, I thought it was an amazing episode.
Chris?
Well, we went through episode 3.
Oh, you already.
I already went.
Yeah. So
I do agree with you on that part, Jean, where you said like Ace should have like suffered a little bit more, like, or like have more like thought about like, damn, if I didn't do this to homeboy's leg, maybe I wouldn't be going through this, or maybe I wouldn't be suffering my own injury right now off this cliff. I do get that part where, like you said, we only have 8 episodes, but it could have been, it was too fast for him to be found, where now all of a sudden you got this come to Jesus moment, or where now I'm talking to my brother's telling me this stuff, and now I'm like, oh damn, I am a shithead. Like, I really fucked up.
Or if it had been like him, it was after the lesbian couple leaves him, and he realizes that he's got to get up to get something, and he tries to do it, and he falls, and he's got it,
like
and
stuff
he's like
on the
sitting,
floor,
he's like, and he's lying there, and he looks, and you can see his reflection in the mirror in the bathroom, or something like that.
Yeah,
like just something a little bit more.
Well, he had that moment where the thing fell off of the wall, and he started banging.
That's true.
Like right before Jack came, so he had something like close to that before Jack came, and then kind of had to talk some wisdom into him as well. But this leads into a couple of really good episodes here. We got season 2, episode 4, which is entitled Heavy Heads. And the description reads, Ace returns to Duffy, determined to leave the DWL and wrestling behind. Crystal worries about her first women's division bout as things with her and Bobby Pin start heating up. And Jack contends with a still smarting Gully. So we got Jack dealing with the whole lawsuit with Gully, Stacy. We start off the episode with Jack getting some buns from Stacy. Congratulations, Jack.
You know
You
what?
had
I'm
to,
done with you.
had to hit them skins, and she had to talk to him and tell him like, hey, maybe you should say sorry to Gully. So he tries that, but that doesn't work with Gully. He even says, why do people think that saying those syllables in succession is supposed to get them anything they want, or supposed to make anything
Everything
go away?
okay? Yep.
That doesn't make it okay. He was like, you made me look bad in front of my people. You cost me millions of dollars in intellectual property and reputation. So you will do this, or I will sue you. It's that simple. And Rooster basically tells Jack that he basically laid out the whole story for him, because when Jack was trying to tell Gully that it's not going to work, he said that you guys are transgression. He was like, you're hardcore. You use light tubes and thumbtacks and all this. You're not about the story. You're not about the wrestling like we are. And Rooster was like, yeah, that's the story. That's the story right there. The difference between the two companies. And he was like, well, your guys are only going to listen. Your fans are only going to listen to your guys, and our fans are going to listen to our guys. And he was like, that's where I come in, because I'm the inside guy that used to be in DWL, now in the FWD. And he was like, how did I know you were going to give yourself a star in world? He was like, because I knew none of y'all were going to give me one. I love Rooster.
Rooster was an MVP, man. Like he's one of them, like them unsung heroes that needed to be pushed to the front. He was like, yo, you don't see the greatness in me? No problem. I'll go somewhere else.
I'll make sure you see it in me. And that furthers like that whole dialogue between those two throughout the show, because Rooster is basically going to invade the next DWL show. They do a whole big promo with Jack doing this whole big speech, like he's either a war captain or a football coach, and he's on top of a tank. And he's with Ricky Rabies and Bobby Pinn and Big Jim, and he's doing the whole speech on top of the tank. And then Rooster comes and he gives Rooster a script, and Rooster's like, man, this ain't the same stuff you just gave. He's like, man, you was like, do you know why I left? Did I really need to leave? He was like, I wanted to stay. I had to make sacrifices, but you were never going to put a belt on me. He's like, now I got a belt on me. Now I got all money on all my merch. I had to leave. Like it's because you always want to keep it down. It's always about you. So he basically makes him a new script, and he cuts a great promo how everything about the DWL is always about stories for Jack Spade. It's always about Jack Spade. So that's why he's here, and he accepts Jack Spade's challenge for the interpromotional war between the DWL and the FWD. And then in the end, we get a whole big tag team matchup that ends in a DQ because Ricky Rabies has rabies apparently, and goes all slobbing up the mouth. And then the FWD guys, Rooster and another top guy, come in and jump Ricky Rabies. They're beating down him, and then the lights go out, and then this figure comes. So earlier in the episode, we see Ace is staying at the house. He's staying in the like the, I guess, the attic or garage or something like that. And we get Jack telling Stacy to have Thomas, when he comes home, hang out with him. So he takes him out. We see him meet up. He finally sees Crystal for the first time when she's at work, and they have a good conversation. He tells her not to tell anybody he's back, and he tells her she's doing well with the wrestling. And then before that, when he's in the car with Thomas, he picks up the crown, the Tom Spade King Spade crown, and he apparently picks it up while Ace is talking to Crystal, and it goes into the road, gets run over. But he basically tells him, he's like, it's just a prop. He was like, your dad always knew that. He was like, I always thought it looked important, but your dad always told me it was just a prop. It didn't mean anything. And he's right. That's what it is. So he puts it in the car, and then he goes back to the house, and he's talking to Thomas, and he's talking about wrestling. And he was like, you can win or lose, it doesn't really matter. He was like, honestly, when you lose and you're looking up at the lights, he was like, it actually makes you feel good, because half of the cheers are really for you when you really think about it. And I was like, that was a key line. I just watched that episode back, and I was like, that's a key line in the whole which changed the whole perspective of Ace's character. And then he starts wrestling with his nephew, because he asks him, does your dad ever wrestle with you? He says no, and he was like, oh, I wrestle with you. So they start wrestling, and he's having a great moment. You can see the joy in his face just wrestling, so that inspires him to go back to the DWL arena. So he goes back, he starts taking bumps, and he picks up some dye, and he goes to Crystal's house, and she helps him dye his hair. And he's basically, when we go back to the end, what I was talking about at the end here, that figure in the sky comes down on a zip line, and he takes out both guys from the FWD, and we hear this whole big speech and monologue like it's Sting in 1996.
Yes.
Like,
Absolutely.
I am the condemned. And that's basically how we end the episode. But a lot of other kind of tidbits happened throughout here, but outside of Ace, you had Crystal with I think it was El Dorado. It was the young lady, and it was none other played by former Divas champion AJ Lee. So she starts working with Crystal. So we kind of see how they start working together, and they kind of are like off a little bit, but they eventually have a great match where Crystal wins and she successfully defends the DWL Women's Championship. And they even so they have a moment, and everything works out fine with that. But we see the whole struggle with that. We also see her whole relationship with Bobby Pin and how they're getting close with each other. So a lot of good stuff throughout this episode. I love the ending though. The ending, or I was just like, I think I messaged our group chat. I was like, yo, they made Ace into Sting. Oh my god, I popped so much for the ending here.
Definitely was a Sting recreation. Absolutely.
Krssi Love, what did you think about episode 4 here? Heavy Heads.
Solid episode. Really, really good. Love how like they showed the two, El Dorado, which is what's the homegirl name? AJ Lee. Thank you. How AJ Lee is like showing Crystal how like wrestling is, and she's like, how long have you been doing this? And then showing her how like the back ends of like what the bumps are doing to her body. Like she has to take these aspirins right before the match or whatever to get ready to make her sure that she doesn't really feel much of anything or whatever, or like she's gonna put her body through so much stuff now. And now this is what she has to do afterwards. And she's like, this is what happens when you do these things. So I love the fact that like they do go even more deeper into like how wrestlers are pushing their bodies, how they got to keep going, how they keep going through these things. And, like doctors are not going to really like, fix it all or whatever. Like you've had these surgeries and now you have to like deal with the pain more afterwards. So I love how they went into like the real depths of like what wrestlers have to put their bodies through, especially like from a female's perspective, not even from a man's. Like you got to show what the girls do. Like, you want to do this is what it takes. This is what you have to push your body through. So I love that part. And then I love that they used the whole like Sting 1996 gimmick and just made him the condemned, and like it just, even from the voice, and like it was just so like our childhood like being recreated. Like it was just like, because if you've seen Sting back then when he came out like that, and he didn't really even say much, and then when he started to use like he's gonna speak, he's talking now. So it was really, really cool.
Yes, good stuff there. I also should mention the whole Wild Bill storyline in this episode. This whole show is very well written because there's so many stories going on and interwoven here throughout, because Wild Bill goes on like a fan convention with Diego by his side, and they're trying to get footage for their podcast and stuff like that, and he meets up with one of the old wrestlers that he's friends with, and he has like a heated exchange because the wrestler is kind of like moved on. He's opened a froyo shop, and he basically calls him out for being a pussy who's left it all behind, and then the wrestler basically calls him out for still hanging on when it should be over and he should be retired and stuff like that. So I had to mention that because that made Wild Bill have a coming to Jesus before the matchup. He goes to Willie and he says, can you get me an apartment? It's just something temporary. I'm trying to go back to the big time. But Chris, we'll go to you next. What did you think about episode 4 here?
This is the episode where I really started like Wild Bill for sure.
Yeah.
The progression, the character progression for Wild Bill is one of my favorite of this show, in this season especially. And then the whole condemned, man. coming out like Sting. You know I'm a sucker for Sting, bro. Once you put that in the group chat, I was like, y'all gotta watch this episode ASAP. Hold up. I was like, no spoilers, but you want to spoil that? Fuck it. I'm going right on the Starz app right now. I enjoyed it. Rooster too is like you kind of start to see Rooster
In a different light.
yeah, not necessarily, because he defected or whatnot last season, but it's not necessarily because he's a bad guy or because
Right.
he has
Right.
any personal ill will towards Jack Spade. He literally is just a wrestler that is about his business. So, and it's
Got
a
his money.
Hispanic representation. So Rooster's good in my book. That's Theo Rooster.
Theo Rooster. StatKing, what'd you think about Heavy Heads?
I like this episode. It did a lot to just keep everybody's story moving a little bit forward. Like Bill had something, Crystal had something, Jack, all of them had something that they needed to do and get done, and their interactions with each other, especially the conversation with Crystal and Ace, that was really good. Where he's kind of like he's not sort of trying to rekindle anything. It's more just like, are you good? Because I know I did some things that I should not have done. And then the conversation with Thomas was really just great. Like that whole arc within the episode of him being protective of the crown, and then after it gets destroyed, like he has a moment where he's got to sit there and think to himself, you have to make a choice. You can either be angry with this kid because the crown is broken, like, and yeah, maybe the kid shouldn't have touched it, or you have to say something to reassure the kid and use it as like a teachable moment that you should be careful, but also understand that some things aren't always what they appear to be. And I think that is the crown, and the crown being broken is kind of a representation in that conversation for Ace, that he is not everything that he appears to be. He can be more, he can be better. And the last thing that I really liked from this episode was how they started the seeds now for down the road with with Stacy and Willie and that county auditor. This is when she pays her. This is when she gives Willie gives her the money, and Stacy's like, because Stacy's whole thing was, she was embarrassed by the
wrestler,
by the DWL in the first season. She's they call her Queen Spade, the queen and everything and all that kind of stuff. She has her friends.
She's trying to hide it from her friends.
Yeah, she's embarrassed. She's still embarrassed by it, and now she's starting to embrace it. And in a sense, it shows growth from her, where she's like, I can't be mad at him all the time about why he has to spend this money and do these things without trying to understand what it is that he is trying to do. If I understand it, then I can understand him better. So it's growth from her as well. And as part of that, she's taking on more responsibilities at the Duffy Dome, and she sees this Willie. She first that auditor comes and is like, "Hey, is Willie here? Like the money or whatever?" And she's like, "No." And then later she sees Willie giving her this woman some kind of envelope, potentially filled with money. We shall see. But it was cool because especially because this is the 4th episode, it's wrapping up some storylines. We're mid-season and now it's starting out the next for the back half. So I thought it had a good kind of like summation of some things. We're still going to be continuing, but now we gotta start some new things as well.
And we went back to Willie's home for the first time very beautifully in this episode, with her passed out on the floor, where the scene prior, she was getting money out of the safe and putting it in her bag. And then the next scene, she's passed out. And I was just like, oh man, what happened to that money?
That was Colleen's first thought too. Colleen's like, don't tell me she's on drugs. I was like, well, you never know.
Or gambling. You thought she had a gambling habit or something. Like something was happening where you was like, why she keep taking all this damn money? Like, what are you doing?
Going on a binger. So next episode is season 2, episode 5. Who the hell is the Condemned? A mysterious new wrestler surges in popularity in Duffy, igniting Gully's ire. He demands the DWL make an appearance at Florida Wrestling Dystopia to make amends, and Jack X's Stacy to take on more responsibility at the Dome. So this episode is basically when they take their act on the road. The A plot is about the DWL being forced to go to FWD, and Gully is upset following what happened at the end of the previous episode because of the condemned standing tall when FWD was supposed to stand tall in this first part of this invasion here. So he wants the condemned to come to FWD, and he wants him to lose in the middle of the ring. Well, 1 week after he debuted, I was just like, what are we doing?
You're right.
What are we doing?
Talk about
Like,
hot shot and angle.
What hot shot in the angle here? It's like it was, and
Relax,
thankfully,
Eric Bischoff.
thankfully, Rooster, once again, the voice of reason, Rooster is the guy who says, like, no, like, who am I supposed to face at the end of this thing? He was like, do I face their former champion, that 5-pound girl, the 5-foot girl, or do I face Jack Spade, the guy that lost to the 5-foot girl? Do I face Wild Bill, who is geriatric and about to lose his life with one false move, or do I face this new mysterious character that everybody's interested in the condemned? So he was trying to make some sense into it, chalk some sense into Gully, because Gully was off the Richter with that whole command there. And then at the same time, he gets a call. He gets the message from his daughter that some guy from a streaming company is going to be at the event that night. So hold on to that. That becomes a whole part of the next part of this whole season, basically. So then when
the other half of the season.
So
Continuum is going to save heels.
Yes. Continuum. There we go. We'll put it on Continuum.
We have to. We need to save it.
Please.
We're begging.
So you have Jack try to kind of talk Ace into it, or ask Ace about it, but Ace kind of explains how his condemned character is biblical, and it's about sacrifice and all this
Coming
stuff.
to Jesus
He just used
and...
every kind of religious phrase he could use, and then he was like, "Stacey, you understand what I'm saying?" And give it a big hug, like, "Thank you."
Come on, man. It's about resurgence and remembrance.
It's about resurgence and remembrance and coming to Jesus, and you just gotta come to it. Oh man, like, yo, it was so funny. It was so hilarious. But yeah, he's like, he doesn't want to do the whole law. So Willie is the one who comes up with a solution where she says that we can take Crystal to the FWD and she can wrestle. He was like, we don't want to throw her to the wolves. He was like, she deal with y'all too. She's good. She's good with the wolves, the lions, the hyenas. So we see more of that relationship bonding between Willie and Crystal, where she's like, I'm gonna look after you. We're gonna bring you to the FWD. And basically, when they get to the FWD, Jack talks Rooster into helping him talk Gully into going with his plan, because he's wrote it all out. He has a whole angle. Gully is apprehensive at first until Jack tells him, you get to punch him in the face. It's like, yay, dad, yay, me. Yes, continue on.
That's all really what he wanted to do. Really, that's all Gully wanted, was to make the DWL look bad and his company come on top, and he punches Jack in the face.
Yes. So we get the whole matchup with Crystal. She goes against, so I forget what her name was here, but it's really Serena Deeb. Serena Deeb. She can't get on AEW television, but she got on DWL. That's why somebody.
Right, that was Serena Deeb. You're right.
Pick the show up. Gotta pick the show up so she could be on TV again.
I forgot about Serena Deeb. Damn.
This match goes to like a no contest because she walks out on the matchup, and then the whole FWD roster comes out, and Gully comes out, and he tries to talk Crystal into signing with the FWD. Crystal turns them down. She's loyal to the Spade brothers because they gave her a home. Out comes Jack Spade, and he's like, you can't poach Crystal like you poached this guy, Rooster. And then Crystal says Crystal doesn't have your back, she's gonna stab you in the back, and she hits him in the back with a steel chair. So Crystal has defected to the FWD. Jack is all alone. He gets punched in the face by Gully. The whole roster looks like he's gonna jump him, but then the condemned comes in and he comes in on the zip
Man, I keep
line.
saying it like that.
Because of Wild Bill at the beginning of this episode, he was like, "You gotta say it right, ladies and gentlemen. You can't conjure a spirit. It's a fallen angel who just come down. So say it with me. Con, down,
Damn.
con, down." God, say it with me. But yes, he comes down with Jack,
Condemn.
and they fight off the FWD, and then the lights go out and they disappear. FWD stands tall. They're under the ring, and Jack says he has to pee. Ace tries to move over so he can pee under the ring, while Crystal celebrates with Gully in the ring. So that's basically how episode 5 here ends. So just focus mostly on the A plot. I'm sure you guys can bring up like the B and the C plot because the show has a lot of them. So I just focus
They
on the A.
do.
Krssi, what did you think about episode 5 here? Who the hell is the condemned?
This is now leading to now where all the characters are now kind of like in like their space of like they've had their come to Jesus moments now, and now they're like showing and evolving and like doing certain things. So you see like Ace is like really like trying to like protect his character and doesn't want like nothing to like damage it. He like, no, this is something I really like came up with. Like this is something I really like am trying to do right. So like I don't want to mess it up. And you can see like how he's like trying to protect his character and trying to like grow as he's growing too. And he's like all like happy and like he's just like this happy go lucky, like he's like done everything now. Like he's like a born again Christian or whatever, you know what I'm saying? Like that's what it seems like. Which is really cool. And then, you see Jack now is trying to like get everything together. Like he's trying to work with Gully, but then he's not really want to give Gully everything, but he's still trying to like still be like the DWL. Like, so, and they're like, no, you got to like kind of like evolve and like go with it. Like you got to like make changes. It's okay. Like, and then Willie, we like, what the hell is happening with Willie? Like I'm thinking like she's a whole like drunk gambling person or whatever, but then you see like how Stacy like starts like to nibble and like snoop around and like go through things that she's like now trying to like understand the business. Like she wants to be involved. Like this is a family business. Now I have to be involved in this family business, and I don't want my name dragged into like the dirt. Well, you still have the name, so you're gonna be in the dirt with them regardless. Yeah. Like I think that's where she didn't really like kind of put 2 and 2 together. Like this is a family thing. I'm married into this. Like I can't leave my husband out to like fend for herself and dry. Like they inherited this. Like, so now we got to figure out how we can make it better. So it's like the things of like you said, so many different stories happening with everybody, and like how it's like kind of like intertwining, and like how we, this is where we go back and forth with like the foreshadowing, like see how like things happen too.
Yeah, definitely. And we should also mention at the end there, the Continuum streaming rep. Basically, they kept focusing on him throughout the show, and he really kind of, you could tell he was falling in love with Crystal, seeing her in the ring, and the whole storyline with the DWL and the FWD. So he pulls up on Willie backstage, and he asks her, "Are you the person who works with Crystal and the Spade brothers?" And he says he wants to talk about everything. And she's like, "What do you want to talk about?" Like he's like, everything. Like, tell me everything. So that starts what's gonna go throughout the end of the season here. StatKing, what did you think about episode 5 here?
I liked it because it really that beginning part where Gully's trying to kill the condemned like immediately, it really does highlight the differences in the booking styles of Gully and Jack, because before, in the end of the first season, or not, but like towards the end of the first season, when Ace is there at FWD and Rooster just won the belt, Gully's talking about how next week you're going to take it off of him, and it seems like he just literally books from week to week. What's the best, or what's the most interesting thing that I can come up with for this? Like very Vince Russo-ish. Like what could I do from a week to week basis just to keep popping this crowd? And it's like, but eventually you can't keep doing that. You have to have stories that hooks them. Otherwise, you're just doing things for the sake of just doing that. And here, he doesn't know how to properly deal with this, and it needs to fall on Rooster, who has learned from Jack how to tell a long-term story and how to book that out, to be like, no, this is, and the thing is, if that had come from Jack, it would not have worked. It needed to come from Rooster, because it needed to come from somebody that Gully trusted. And when we talk about people, because Gully feels as though because Rooster defected for real, Rooster has his back. And from that same perspective, you have the conversation with Crystal and her mom, because she goes to visit her in prison, and she's talking to her, and the mom says, if I was out, we never find out like what the mom is in prison for, but she's saying, if I was out there with you, I would be able to at least have your back. You need to have somebody that you can trust, because in any in any facet of life, the world is a cutthroat dog-eat-dog world, and in wrestling even more so. So you need to have somebody who is going to have your back, and you start to see that maybe for Crystal it could be Willie. From Willie's perspective, you're like, oh, for Willie's stuff, you're like, holy shit, like what is wrong with this lady? Like, what's going on? Like,
Absolutely, yep.
I think one of the funniest parts for me is the husband, like waking up, looking at her, he's just stepping over to her. Tuesday. It's like, I'm just used to it at this point. Man, that was interesting, and that's one of the things that I'm kind of sad about the show being canceled. I really wanted to see the character development for Willie and where they were going to take that character in season 3.
Like, how did she even marry this man? Because they look like total opposites.
Oh yeah. It's like, it makes absolutely no sense on paper.
Like, can we right? Like on paper, like it's something like it was like something that's arranged or a deal. Like, because I don't understand like how, she used to be with Wild Bill.
Right. And then like the last thing that I loved was and I remember explaining this to Jaquan in the chat. I said, this is a family drama that has like a thin layer of wrestling over it it uses wrestling as the vehicle to move the actual drama, the family, and the interactions. Now, if you were just watching this as anybody, like a non-wrestling fan, that moment in the ring with Crystal and Jack, you're shocked. The wrestling fans are
fans
like,
I saw that from a mile away.
Yeah. We're like, oh, she's gonna hit him with the chair. Like that's what's gonna happen here. And it was great because and it was awesome because in the moment, I'm literally going over at Kelly and I'm like, she's gonna hit him, and she's like, why would she do that? That doesn't make any sense. I'm like, you're not thinking with wrestling brain. It's still a wrestling show.
It's true. I was Colleen. No, I was Colleen. I was like, no, she's not going to do that to them. Like she's born, she's loyal to them. Like that's in her blood. And then look at that. I was like, oh,
but that just highlights the booking difference between Jack and Gully, because Gully is trying to go for something quick and we need to get revenge immediately. Jack is saying, no, you got to stab and then twist the knife and then twist it some more. And then twist it some more. And how do we do that? The woman that we, gave the championship, we got the championship, got to beat me in this ladder match. We built a women's division around. Why would she want to stab me in the back? You're going to have to tune in next week.
I gave her a fresh new belt. She's the first champion. Yeah. Why would she want to leave us? We're family. Like, no, she's loyal to us. Like, she would never leave us. That's what you thought about Rooster, right?
Exactly. Chris, what did you think about Who the Hell is the Condemned episode 5?
Why Gully try to do him like that? Week 1, try to put him in the mud. Sid just try to strap the rocket to him and then cut it loose, cut it short. I thought it was a good episode. I like how they set up the show, and it got you interested in how the feud and how the little interpromotional war is going to go forward. All the subplots with the characters, Rooster and Ace, being protective of his character and kind of like taking it to heart, not treating it like a character, actually treating it like a way that he wants to live his life, and he kind of wants to atone for his sins and whatnot. It was just a cool episode to see. And then you see shit with Tom and Wild Bill and Billy back in the day too. So it's just a good episode to progress the show going forward. But I wasn't prepared for the end when the rep from Continuum wanted to kind of look into the DWL as well. I was like, oh, all right, now shit is getting interesting.
Yeah, I was like, I'm popped for that too. I was like,
That had me-
that episode, they had me popping at the end. I was like, yes,
Yeah.
let's go.
That had me ready for the next episode. That was a good way to end it.
Absolutely agree with you there. A nice little moment early in the episode was with Diego and Wild Bill, where
Yes,
Diego
yes.
talks about how Wild Bill treats him, because they had a little part in the previous episode when they were filming the podcast with Wild Bill's friends, and Wild Bill told him, "Get me 2 drinks," and like yelled at him. He was like, "I'll get you the fucking," like said something under his breath, and now he kind of made it known before they recorded their next podcast episode. He was like, you treat me like a bitch, like you treat me like beneath you," and he was
It's
like,
my last episode. I ain't doing this with you no more.
yeah, no, he didn't even say all that. He was just like called
That's
him
that's
out.
how he felt. Yeah, like it's like,
Yeah,
yo,
yeah.
I'm not doing this no more.
No, he didn't say that. I mean, he was down to just do it. He was going to do his job, but he was like he doesn't like being treated like that, and that got to Wild Bill. So Wild Bill said, at the top of the show, he was like, "I know you guys enjoy listening to the Wild Bill podcast, but I'm going to change the name. It's going to be the Wild Bill and Diego Cottonmouth podcast from here on out." It was a nice little moment. It was showed that Bill appreciates what Diego was doing as well. So I like that. I had to mention that as well. But
his transition of him kind of like leaving wrestling behind, I guess, and doing this little podcast.
Just becoming more of a person and less of
Yeah.
just the character, Wild Bill.
Because he's
Become
always the
Bill.
character. Like you're like,
Yeah.
who's Bill? Yeah.
Yeah. But that was a nice, I had to mention that because it was a nice little segue into the next episode, which was season 2, episode 6, Appearances, which is the description here says Jack, Ace, and Stacy prepare for a potentially life-changing meeting. Willie and Wild Bill think back on an exciting time in the DWL's infancy when a young Tom Spade faced a similar opportunity. So the guy from Continuing basically pulls up into town, into Duffy, and Ace and Jack and Stacy basically have to tell him about DWL and impress him to basically get this deal with the streaming company and get some money and flowing in the DWL. The only thing I would mention about this whole meeting is I did not like how that Continuing guy was looking at Stacy. He looked like he was trying to fuck her from the minute he saw her. You saw how he looked.
I mean, can you blame him though?
I mean, I
Can
don't blame
you
him,
blame
but I'm
him?
just saying.
Can you blame him?
I'm
Honestly,
just
can you blame him?
saying. I was like, he better not. I was like, that's the only good thing about this show being canceled is that I knew they were going to probably go in that direction. At least him
think
trying to
so?
fuck her. Yes.
Oh.
At least him trying to fuck her. I saw it in the twinkle in his eye. I can tell.
Oh my God, no.
Yeah, that's the only thing I mentioned about that because most of this episode was
He's
about
Jose Lawyer.
kind of a flashback into the past to
Mm.
Tom, Carol, Bill, and Willie when they were younger. And Tom had a meeting all set with Ted Turner and WCW, and they're getting their suit ready. WCW, WCW, WCW. They go over to Atlanta, Georgia, and he's there to meet. And apparently OJ Simpson just got acquitted. Yeah, just got acquitted for the people because the black receptionist was listening to the radio that said that when Tom came in, and Tom had to wait for hours and hours and hours, and then he was told that the guy is gone, so he got mad at the secretary, but then the meeting got rescheduled, so he had to tell him, oh yeah, the meeting got rescheduled. So the meeting gets rescheduled, and he tells them, well, basically Wild Bill is not a part of the deal. They just want me now, basically. So now Wild Bill's not involved. So he goes to the meeting again, and once again he keeps waiting and waiting and waiting, and once again he's told that Ted Turner is not available to meet with him. The secretary tells him, the guy that brought him in tries to tell him and talk him down, but he's all pissed. He said you shouldn't treat people like this, and Ted Turner's gonna be like, fuck him. He's gonna learn you don't treat Tom Spade like this. So he's basically determined to leave Ted Turner behind and make him regret wasting his time, and he's gonna go to Vince McMahon in WWF. And basically he tells Wild Bill that also Willie's gonna be my manager now. That Willie basically wants to hitch her horse to the guy who's getting recruited right now. So she says okay, she's fine with it. Wild Bill's all upset. We get a couple of conversations between Wild Bill and young Willie where he's talking about how Tom could just talk us out of the whole deal, and he was always apprehensive, even though he was kind of like wide-eyed, bushy tail at that point. But that moment of Tom taking Willie from him kind of changed him and kind of made him motivated moving forward. So yeah, it was quite the episode here with like the flashbacks and everything. We also got a nice little promo class with Wild Bill and the guys. This was like I think the first one of the promo classes that I remember the most. This one, and then the next one about don't be a head nod guy, or that one.
Don't be a fucking chin guy.
Don't be a fucking chin guy. Yes. So yeah, what did you guys think about this being kind of more of a flashback episode here? Chris, what did you think? Appearances is the title.
I didn't mind it because it sets the groundwork for basically the 2023 version of how Jack and his his DWL is preparing for like this network deal and whatnot, or potential network deal. And it was cool to see like the names dropped of actual companies, WWE, WCW. They name dropped Vince and Ted Turner. Like it was cool. I was like, oh man, this show is really starting to take off. Shit, they're actually naming the real companies. Like this is cool. So
like it was showing that they were all competing to be big.
Yeah,
you need to be on those platforms.
It was a good episode to it was a good it was a filler episode, but it was a good filler episode to bring the show forward towards what's next.
What did you think about this one, Krssi?
I don't know if it was a filler. I think it kind of like set the tone for like where we were heading towards these last two episodes or whatever. More so just show like who the dad really was, and the dad was really like about like mostly himself, but like trying to like grow the business and trying to make it big, but had to like pivot and go through these ways or whatever. And you got to see like who Bill was, or I loved how they went backwards and like showed you like where they came from and who these characters were before, and then you see them now. So I actually really enjoyed this episode. And it just gave you like more insight of like the actual characters and like what happened to the dad and like why they went these ways and what happened to him.
Yeah, really did a good job of kind of like fleshing out the characters. I did mention like the last part of kind of like the flashbacks where it went back to basically like just before Tom passed away, when he went to visit Wild Bill and ask him for money again when the DWL was going on hard times, and Wild Bill established that he owes him like thousands and thousands of dollars, and Wild Bill has been helping fund the DWL for all these years while he's been like successful. He was on a movie set at that point and he was doing all right, doing well for himself. And Tom just kept coming to him and coming to him and coming to him. He was like, I'm not even your friend anymore. I'm a freaking ATM. Like, you just keep coming to me. And he was like, how when is enough enough? He was like, you don't even need to call me no more. Just ask my accountant. And Tom asked him, could you please not tell Carol or the kids? And Wild Bill stood to that promise. He stood to that promise.
To the day, yeah.
And then the scene at the end was the one that I wanted to bring that up. That was some of the best acting Wild Bill did when he found out when Tom died, and he started crying in his trailer, and he was like trying to put himself together. And he just throws down the jacket and just sits back down and starts crying. I was like, oh, he did good with that scene. I felt that scene. StatKing, what did you think about episode 6 here?
I like this one because a lot of what the big thing about what angered Jack in the first season was Ace telling him that you're gonna stay here in this town and you can kill yourself like Dad did.
Mm.
And that's one of Jack's biggest fears, is that he will not be able to even do as good of a job with the DWL that his dad did. And he has big plans for it. He has hopes and dreams, but he's not 100% sure all the time of how to accomplish them. But he knows he is facing the same difficulties that Tom's did, and he has to try to figure out a way to not make the same mistakes. And he doesn't have somebody like Tom to give him the advice of what to do. And so here he's able to talk to Bill about some of those things. But the flashback did a really great job of showing two things. One, that Jack doesn't respond to disrespect the same way that Tom does.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes he does, but he doesn't do it all the time. But also, when you are hot, they come to you.
Yeah.
You do not have to go to them. Because from Tom, like Tom didn't realize it, but like in a sense, it was almost as if they were going to be begging WCW and Ted Turner for a break, whereas Continuum is coming to the DWL to say, we want to do business with you.
Yeah.
So it did a really great job of comparing and contrasting the two situations to highlight that Jack isn't making the same mistakes that Tom did and letting his ego get in the way, especially now versus the first season where the ego drove the entire plot, because the offer of a potential NXT deal was to Ace and not to him. So I really liked all of that stuff, and the aspect of Bill being the one who's been the financial backer, or one of the big financial backers of the DWL for years, was really great, because you, throughout the entirety of the first season, you were just like, Bill's an asshole. Like he's such an asshole to everybody, and he never tried to help. And and everybody throws that in his face, and he never says anything. He's just like, well, I have my reasons. He's like, well, you know, he's just like MVP, man. He's like, well, Ezekiel 3:15 says you shouldn't do this, that, and the third, so that's why I didn't do it. All right, like he says like some shit like that, and then now you find out, oh, he was actually helping. He was like, well, you know, Ezekiel 3:17 says I should be my brother's keeper, so I will be, and here's some money. Like that was actually what was going on this whole time. It was. So it was really cool to see, and you just go, wow, Bill's not an asshole. That's awesome.
I was like, Bill won MVP for the season for me in this episode. I was like, Bill's MVP.
Bill got the best sayings. He'd be like, well, you never stick your dick in an ostrich. I'm like, what?
No.
Talking about ordering food. What are you talking about, Bill?
Colleen would say, she says, he says the most foul / stupid shit I've ever heard in my life, but somehow it makes sense.
It makes so much sense, and everyone agreed, and like everyone was like, "Huh, okay,
yeah, you got me there."
I never thought of it that way. Yeah.
Gotta love it. But yes, Wild Bill, MVP of the whole season after this episode for me.
Yeah.
So where they stand with the whole continuum thing is that they're looking into them, and they're one of the people, one of the promotions that they're into. And now the continuum person is gonna come out to see them, apparently. At least that's what they're told at first, because we go to episode 7 here, The Things That Matter. In the wake of the Condamned's growing popularity, Ace begins to lose himself in the myth of his character. The Dome prepares to further woo continuum. Stacy further digs into the Dome's sordid secrets. So we saw Stacy in the previous episode kind of going through different like files and stuff, and she's further doing that in this episode here, and further finding out all the different stuff that
Mhm.
that is going on with the Dome and DWL, and she has different conversations with people throughout this episode, whether it's Willie, who shows them a farm that they had in the DWL in the back that is not really a farm and is just being used as like a front for money. Then she also speaks to Wild Bill and basically calls him out for being the backer all these years, and how much money did you give Tom all these years. You also got there, so that's all that's going on with Stacy. We'll get back to that when we get to the end of the episode. Meanwhile, Ace is trying to further expand himself because he had a conversation with his mom in the previous episode where she said you have to find something to do for a living outside of wrestling, and that's going to further his whole journey of exploration that he's having. So he goes to a hospital and he goes and he volunteers at a senior citizens, basically the senior part of the hospital, and he's helping out there. It's all going well, fine and dandy until his first act that he's there, he puts a blanket on an old man in a wheelchair, and then later he's going around and he's giving games to the old people, and he stops by the old man's room again, and he's like, hey, again, it's me again. You want to play games? And the old man says, hey, he's like, what's going on? And he was like, yeah, it's me. Earlier I put the blanket on you. He was like, oh, you put shit in my pants. You put shit in my pants. It was you. And he was like, no, it wasn't me. What are you talking about? And the guy takes the shit out of his pants, throws it
ew.
at him. He's like gagging and cringing as he's doing that with his mouth wide open. He takes another handful of shit and throws it right into his mouth. Oh my God. I was like, my face like melted. Oh, I was like, ah.
If you live in New York,
we're watching that, and Colleen, emergency room nurse, says that happens sometimes, and I said,
it does.
I hope it happens to you.
I couldn't stop laughing. I couldn't stop laughing. This is the funniest.
You
this is the
said
funniest
that to
part
her?
of it.
Oh, I said, of course.
So gross. People don't understand.
Oh my God.
People don't
That is like
understand.
that is like one of the worst fears in my life. Riding the New York subway system, or going on the train, or being in the subway platform and a bum come next to you and they like, I mean, one of my worst nightmares to if that. I can't even. Like, you ever Kevin Hart in a bum bump? Like, I don't want them to. I don't want none of that. I don't know. Ew.
Guys, he's asking for a fucking death wish. He's gonna rub shit on me. I'll tell you that.
Oh God!
I promise you, it's gonna be a problem.
Bad, so bad. So yeah, that's going on with Ace. Yes, Ace doing that. It doesn't come together with Jack, who's kind of stressing out because he has to write for the Armageddon show and he has to impress the Continuum lady. He doesn't know how he's gonna do that until he basically talks with Ace and they come up with a little vignette, a promo to shoot for the lady to impress her. Meanwhile, they also are setting up like this whole big like dinner for her, and she's also gonna go see Gully and the FWD crew. And the FWD crew, they got Rooster there to impress her with his good looks. They also got like people on fire. They got a whole pool party going on, and to the point that she doesn't want to leave. She just says, "Fuck all the people at Duffy who's waiting for her." All nice setup and stuff. We see shots of people like recording things like Big Bill and Diego on the water tower. We see Stacy recording with Debbie, and this was like the episode where I was like, oh my God, Debbie is so sweet. Debbie is like the sweetest person on this show. Oh my God, when she was talking about the dome and she was like, oh, it's like she feels like she's in heaven when she's in the dome sometimes. Like, oh my God, she's like the sweetest lady ever.
Was the sweetest,
sweetest lady ever.
Yeah.
Where I was like, I fell more in love with Debbie. I fell out in love with Willie in this episode because she is being courted by Gully. this is where Gully really starts courting both Willie and Crystal, because he finds out that Crystal got like the most merch sales and the highest rates when she was on the FWD show. So now Gully is actually pursuing her and trying to give her big money and trying to tell Willie to come over with her, because he's trying to say that Jack will never let her be a producer and never let her write, just like Tom did. And I'm just sitting here, I'm just the whole time, I'm like, Jack is not Tom. What are we talking? Why are you listening to this? Why are we taking this man seriously? They're not the same person. Why are you listening to any of this nonsense? The leader from Continuance asking for Condemned and Crystal to come to the party, and then Gully's calling her again and trying to convince her again. So eventually the lady doesn't come, so they play the promo. They have a nice little moment where they're all happy and stuff. And yeah, that's like most of the episode. Yeah, you guys can fill in the blanks with the rest. Chris G, we'll start with you. Episode 7, season 2, the penultimate episode, The Things That Matter.
Yeah, I mean, my favorite, obviously, besides Ace eating the shit, I thought that was great. The little video package at the end where they really highlighted like the community and like the people and, you know, the vibe that the DWL is. I thought it was really well done. That was pretty much majority of the episode, just setting up for the big show. And then you see a little bit of Gully too, how he interacts with his daughter, and you realize that he's not a complete piece of shit. He's actually a really good father. So I respected Gully at the end of it.
Yeah, I love that scene, because it did show also the differences between Gully and Jack in a different matter, where we talked about how Gully has like more of like a hot shot booking and Jack likes to tell a story. We also see like Jack as a businessman, he always takes things one way. He'll react to everything the same, and it always seems like it's bad news. Whereas Gully is always like hyped, like, yeah, let's fucking go. Yeah, let's do that. Like Jack is just like, yeah, sir. Yeah. Okay, sorry. Okay, yeah. It's just like, I think that's bad news. I think someone died when I'm listening to Jack on the phone call. When I'm listening to Gully, I think he won the lottery. Like that, I like that little difference that they did there with the same phone call, with the same things being said. They reacted to them differently. Krssi, what did you think about this episode here?
I just love like the other side of Gully, him being like the dad, and like his daughter is like a part of the business, but it's like, yo, make sure you put these all over the internet, TikTok, where like Jack and them, they don't really do any of that, like more like the Stone Age. You see, they still just got like a video screen or whatever. But it also just shows you like how the DWO is like more like family. Like everyone is like all trying to like rally together and like make this a big deal and like clean up, and like they, the beautiful lady, like she made the balloon arch, and he was like, oh, what is that? They didn't even know it was a balloon arch. But it was like the cutest thing like of her. Like she was like, I didn't even like know that I could like really love her until like this episode. And I was like, it just like shows how they're like more family. The two different companies are so opposite, but they're trying to bring them both together for like this big old deal.
Yeah, 100%. StatKing.
Yeah, I like the episode. That final montage was really well done, because like a part of me thinks, and it's crazy because they filmed it last year. How would they have known any of this stuff? It almost felt like prescient, like predicting the future, that they knew something could potentially happen with the show being canceled or something like that. I don't know how, but it just was a great. Yeah, it was a great summary of why all of these characters do what they do. And it sort of was this, in a sense, this kind of reset of these are our character motivations. And sometimes you have to do that from time to time in shows that just remind people why we're watching it, but in the sense of what is it about these characters that compels us to want to watch the show. Yeah. And you need to hear those motivations from people from time to time, because when people are butting heads, you may want to take sides. You may want to pick Jack's side or Ace's side or Stacey's side or whatever the case may be. But when you have moments like this, you realize they're all actually trying to reach the same objective. They're just not always agreeing on how to get there. And so we should try to give each other grace to work through those issues and talk to each other and have these conversations. And it's a great, learning lesson for your life. But the montage was great. And one thing that very under the radar, but was really good, was Bobby in the hospital. And with news that everything with his injury was going to take a little bit longer to heal than originally thought. The prognosis, it was going to take to get where he needed to go. He may need surgery or whatever the case may be. And in a sense, we're all laughing about the shit being thrown at Ace, but then you have that hospital scene, and you're like, it kind of makes sense. Like, yeah, you have a moment's decision. You don't always know the repercussions and the consequences down the road. And just because you are on the path to redemption, it doesn't mean that redemption comes quickly. Right. And you will still be forced to deal with the shit that you have put others through on that road to redemption. And I think that was, it was really well done with it not being like in the literal sense. You're like, wow, shit, he's got to deal with this. Like literally, he's got to deal with shit. But then you see the Bobby thing, and it's a little bit more figurative of what.
And then he turns around and does something stupid again because he kind of flirts with Crystal in this episode, and tells her that he thought they were in a love. I'm like, she's in love with somebody else. What are we doing?
At least he finally admitted to keying the car. Because Bobby was like, somebody keep a car.
This is when they were best friends still. So he did
right. No exactly. He did that for no reason.
So then that brings us finally to episode 8, the series finale.
Don't say it. Come on.
No, I think they got to bring it back.
High flying, and this is the cross promotional event is here. Everything culminates with Harmageddon, the DWL versus Dystopia, Florida Wrestling Dystopia, and the Continuum people will be here in the crowd. It's the big matchup. It's gonna be the Condemned versus Rooster Robbins in the main event. You also got Crystal's gonna be facing DWL's women's champion now, who is actually El Dorado. I thought that was a nice little touch there. So they brought her back for a matchup here, and Crystal once again impresses the Continuum lady here with her nice little Spanish fly at the end with the finisher. I was like, nice.
I'm a sucker for a Spanish fly.
A nice little touch.
Well, she executed it very well. If that was really her.
And then cut a promo afterwards as well. And then we get a tag team matchup with Wild Bill teaming up with Diego and getting the win. And Wild Bill just kept touching his arm and touching his chest. They're out there in the matchup, and then backstage when they were watching the main event. And then finally we get to the main event, and Gully comes out with Rooster Robbins, and he's calling out the Condemned. And then the lights go out, and here's the Condemned sitting on the top rope waiting for Rooster. But then the whole FWD roster comes out and jumps the Condemned. They tie him up. They give Rooster a 2x4 to beat him down, and he's about to, thinking about it, he's conflicted. And then Crystal comes out and tells him to stop and says that this is not the way to do it. This is not the right way, and that we didn't sign up for this. And she has officially left the FWD. And Rooster also decides to leave the FWD and not be a part of this beatdown on the Condemned. And even Crystal does her Hurricane Rana to Gully. And then Jack comes out, and he looks like he's about to make the save for the Condemned, but then he reveals he is a part of the FWD. He has made a deal with Gully. He has signed a deal with the devil. He wants to take down his brother and burn this place down. He never cared about the Duffy people. And this leads to a one-on-one matchup, a last man standing matchup between Jack and Ace Spade going one-on-one. We see before the whole show starts. Well, we lost Chris for a bit here. We see before the show start like a contract signing, a real contract signing to sign off that no one will get sued after this event if everything goes down as agreed, that
Yeah.
the FWD wins in the end, that he's not going to get sued, that everything's going to be fair, and he wants to shake his hand. And Gully says, I'll shake your hand when we stand on top, when we're on top at the end and stuff. So you get also Gully giving money. We see earlier in the day, Gully gives money to Willie for her and Crystal, but Crystal eventually turns it down. This is like the second or third time this
Yeah.
season that Crystal has
Yeah.
turned down the FWD, by the way, but she gives back the money to Willie and she thanks her for everything and always looking after her, but she's going to stick with the DWL. She really believes in it and she really believes in what they're doing. She also has a nice little moment with Bobby Pin where they tell each other they love them, they love each other. So that was a nice little moment there. Bobby is on commentary, of course, as usual. And then the whole show ends with it's Jack versus Ace, and in the end, they do a whole big move, whole big elbow drop off the staging in the entranceway, and then they get back into the ring. It's supposed to be one spot to end it, but Jack decides he's going to do one more big move, and he goes to the top rope, and he's going to do a shooting star press. So we go back to the beginning of the episode.
I was about to say, we got to go back, friend.
We see a whole big flashback to Jack and Tom when Tom was still alive, and Jack's trying to practice doing a shooting star press off the top rope into this whole big like pile, like soft pile or soft
Phone.
pad. Yeah, foam pad. So Tom comes out and tells them, like, you're not the athletic type. Ace is the athletic type. He can do stuff like that. You're not built for stuff like that. You stay on the ground, keep it simple. He was like, you're going to get yourself hurt out there. But Jack doesn't listen. He's still practicing and stuff. So flashback to the ending here. And Jack goes, all right, he wants to impress the Continuum lady. So he goes for the shooting star press. He hits it perfectly, but he's down. Ace is down. They're building up the count. And Jack and Gully's telling Jack to get up, Jack. Ace is telling Jack to get up, but Jack is telling Ace, no, you get up, you win. It's your time to win. And Ace is telling him, he's like, no, he was like, Gully's gonna sue you. He was like, just get up, Jack. He was like, I can't get up. I can't feel my legs. So he tells Ace he needs to win. He needs to get up and get the win. So Ace, the condemned, gets the win. He gets up before the count of 10. Jack stays down. So DWL beats FWD. The crowd goes wild. Gully walks out. He's pissed. He's upset. He said, "You're fucked, Jack. I'm gonna fuck you. I'm gonna fuck you up." And he was so pissed that we get Stacy run over to Jack and ask Jack why you didn't get up. He's like, I can't feel my legs. I can't feel anything below my waist. And that's how we end the entire show.
Bruh. I mean, when I was watching that episode and that ending came, I'm like, how and when will we get this back? I need to see this. Like, what's happening? And now we can't see it unless somebody from the wrestling gods please buy this show and put it on Tubi or somebody, because we need this show to come back. I need to see what happens to Jack. Like, Jack got to be all right, even though he don't fucking listen.
He always changing the script. That's what Bruce just said backstage. He was like, these brothers are always changing the script.
Yep. Always want to do something different. Yep. And hopefully, maybe, Gully does not sue him. Maybe. Let's see.
I don't think they did, because we also saw earlier in the episode the Continuum lady have a meeting with the guy, and they basically said what I thought. I thought that was what they were originally going to do from the very beginning, and it was basically what they said they were going to do, is they're going to have Jack and Gully combine their
both. Yep.
Under the streaming company,
which is going to be.
I think that's going to stop him from suing him.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
But we don't know. We won't ever know. So.
We won't know, right? Because we don't know. We don't know. Like, we could assume. We could write it ourselves. But yeah, like, and then the guy was like, she was like, I don't care which way you do it. You're just going to get me both of these wrestling companies. That's it.
He was like, I think they really hate each other. I think there's like some type of.
She was like, I don't give a shit. Like, Make it work.
Yeah, I like that actress. She's played in Umbrella Academy.
Academy, yes.
Ah.
That's why I was like, call. She knows Netflix. Call them. Get it on there.
Call
We
them
can get
up. Call them on
and
the
we-
horn.
and we can get all the episodes right away.
I mean, make sure you got an Umbrella Academy season 4 at this rate first, and then call about heels.
That is very true. You're right. That is very true. Now, the last season wasn't really that good anyway. So
No, it wasn't. It
it
wasn't.
was really bad.
It really was. It was the worst season. Though.
Yeah.
So I was liking her in this role. I was liking her.
Yes. Yes.
She was the boss
same.
lady here.
Yes.
I wanted to see if Rooster was gonna pipe. StatKing, what did you think? What did you
I
think?
think we all did. We all. No, because when Gully looks over him at the party, he's just like, gives him the, he was a
Give him
chin
the head
guy.
nod.
He was a chin guy, and
He's a chin guy. Yeah.
and Rooster's like, oh, I'm up to bed.
Go take care of that for me.
Let me take down. Let me bust these out. But StatKing, what did you think about this series finale here?
It really is an overbooked mess, just the way Jack Spade loves it. Jack is, and it's so great. Jack is an amazing writer at writing the angles and everything like that. But when it comes to paying off the angle, somehow, some way, he fucks
Goes
up.
wrong. Yeah.
He can't help himself. Something goes wrong. And I think the other part that was kind of funny to me was I was like, he pulled off a picture perfect shooting star press. Why is he paralyzed? Like, this doesn't make any sense to me.
That is
Hey,
very
your knees hit the mat. You never know.
I guess, yeah. But no, this was an amazing episode that really it tied everything together while giving us, what was going to be the thing in season 3 of how is he supposed to try to run a wrestling company when he's hurt. Bobby still can't wrestle. He's got to book himself out of this scenario that he did, which was smart. It was that part of it was smart.
Yeah.
The idea that Jack turns his back on the DWL is great because in the beginning of the episode we have Bill talking to Jack, and he's saying, because Jack's like, I don't want to put FWD over. Like, ultimately, I don't want to do this. And Bill said, well, you're going to find a way to put them over while putting us over at the same time. And that's exactly what was going to happen. Because in his mind, he doesn't know Continuum's plans. Continuum's going to be hiring them to do the streaming service and all that kind of stuff. And then FWD leaves. But if FWD leaves, there's no way for Condemned to get any get back on the FWD. But if you now have Jack representing evil and being the guy who turned his back on the DWL, you have a way to continue this. FWD has nowhere to go storyline-wise because they can't face off against the DWL again. They have to go back to their own stories, which they didn't really have.
No, he kind of set them up. He set them up as well because now they
With
have
Rooster,
a top baby face in Rooster, a
yeah.
guy that did what was right and didn't just go with the band, or he's a top heel because he went against what the FWD fans probably wanted. So they can go either way with that.
So he created a scenario where both companies can go somewhere from it, and he is able to continue writing DWL stories. But alas, the story of Icarus always plays true. You go too close to the sun, you will get burned. And he should not the story has always been with Jack, frustration at his own limitations.
Yeah.
Whether they are limitations with the business of the DWL and being able to push it forward, whether they are limitations of being able to balance his home life, being a lawnmower salesman and the DWL, whether it's physical limitations, not being able to pull off the move, that physical limitation is the embodiment of all of those issues in his mind concentrated in one thing for us to be able to visualize it. And as a complicated character, you feel for the guy because he's trying to fight against what all of us are trying to fight against. We all understand that we have limitations in life. Some of us are never going to be tall. Some of us are never going to be fast. Some of us are going to be this. We have problems in business, problems in life, but we struggle against those. And it's a great example of you have to acknowledge your limitations and understand that though everybody has them, everybody's going to deal with them. There's some things you just can't fight. And man, it just made me really hopeful for what we were going to see in season 3. And I'm really bummed that we're not going to be able to get it. I mean, hopefully somebody does pick it up, because that would be absolutely incredible if somebody did. But like I don't know if anybody, if they're going to look at the ratings and think that the ratings is because of the lack of popularity of the show, or take into consideration the strike, how long it took to get the season. I don't know. We'll see. But for where they left us, for where it could have gone, would have been great.
Sky's the limit, man. Damn.
Yeah.
Some amazing writing. You should also mention with this last episode, you also had like the talk between Ace and Jack before the show, and him being like upset that, you know, like you were saying about that he had to take the loss in the main event, and Ace was just like, "No, it's perfect. It's perfect," and that made the whole conversation with Thomas come full circle. He was like, "Nah, it's perfect. It works with the story." He was like, "It's resurrection. It's resurrection. I'm born again when I come back."
And it takes us all the way back to the first episode of the first season, where he
didn't want to lose. Yeah. I was like, yeah, you see the growth of a character just in that one.
Yeah.
Look at what these heels writers did for us.
And then when they're apologizing to each other, and Ace tells Jack, if you say sorry one more time, I'm gonna punch you in the face.
Yeah.
That was I love that. And then when they were instead of wishing luck to each other, they said, "Go fuck yourself." I love the whole conversation with Jack and Ace. That was the last interaction we get from those two characters. It was great. Krssi, any comments on the series finale here?
Series finale was great. It was a fuck show of like so much things being booked in on this one episode, but it was really, really put together very well. I need someone to pick this up. Like, it's not their fault, guys. Like, it's really not their fault. And then, you know, Starz is not a big network, you know, that can like, it's not Showtime or, you know, HBO, but it's still a small network that can like get these like these little small shows and make it big. So give it another chance, guys. I wish they didn't like, you know, right away cut it, you know, like that, you know, because you didn't even like really like give it like a solid chance, especially like it had like a big break in between the 2 seasons. We had a pandemic, it's still kind of like we're in that like scope of like things like still are not normal anymore.
Yeah.
So, but solid episode. The way it ended is just like, oh, come on, like how, like it's so many unfinished stories that we need to have finished, you know, like we could get at least 2 more seasons, like let it. What you saying?
Yeah. Oh, too, because the creator of the show is the guy who wrote Loki and Doctor Strange. So like maybe he can pitch it to Disney Plus. There's so many connections.
Loki season 2 is the end of this. It's coming up. Come on, let's get it together.
Let's do it. I want to see this show back, man. So much.
Somebody got to get it. Come on.
So much good stuff that even, you know, me going episode by episode recapping it. Like I said, the Chin Guy promo class.
Yeah, don't be a Chin Guy.
Is amazing because they set it up so well with Big Jim showing up late, and he's got all this excuses. He had to get his mind in the right place, and Willie starts like yelling at him and trying to put him in his place, like, "Oh, do you think we have time for your excuses? Do I have to be here early and you don't?" and stuff. And then he comes into promo class, and the dad just basically gives a chin nod to Bobby. So while Bill goes on a whole thing about how you need to articulate and talk about promos and delivering them, and you need to articulate everything you say. So when you say hi, you say it. You don't be a chin guy. I don't want no fucking chin guys in here. And then this leads to Big Jim cutting a whole promo about himself and not stop by being a chin guy and stop being lazy and actually working hard. So love that from episode 7. That whole scene, I was just like, hey, everybody worked this one very, very well.
Yeah.
I'm hoping they keep heels merch up on Pro Wrestling Tees. So I gotta get some of that.
Yes.
If they made a Duffy belt replica, I'd get it.
I would too. I gotta get my Condam shirt. I gotta get a Condam shirt and a Wild Bill shirt. But yes, let's wrap up this. This is easy to wrap things up for season 2 of Heels. Thumbs up, thumbs down, thumbs in the middle. 3, 2, 1, 3, 2, 1. I guess it's easy. Thumbs up across the board. 2 thumbs up from all of us. Another thumb for Chris as well. Out of 10. What did you give the show, Krssi Love? I mean, for season 2, just alone.
A 9.
9 out of 10 for you.
9 out of
StatKing.
10.
I go like 8.5 to 9. 8.5 because like there really was very few missteps in the show, and realistically, what I would want differently, I could argue with myself and convince myself I'm nitpicking. So I would go I go 8.5, 9.
I'm gonna go with 9 out of 10. I think this was a near perfect season.
It was a near perfect season. Yeah,
definitely took it up. I think with season 1, me and Chris, we got like 7.5.
Definitely, I agree. This was
definitely a lot up from season 1. Who was your MVP for season 2, StatKing?
For me, it's a tie between Jack Spade and Wild Bill. Because Bill just had so much character growth and character development, but ultimately it is a show like where Jack Spade is the main character, so he's driving so much of that plot, and so many of his interactions spiral out into other characters' interactions with each other. So I got to give it a tie between Jack and Wild Bill.
Krssi?
Honorable mention for Ace, because he grew a whole lot. He was an asshole in the first season, just like a spoiled little brat, and then even in the start of this season, like it started, then you just see how he evolved and he grew and he had to grow up. But I'm going to give it to Wild Bill, because Wild Bill was that person that we thought was an asshole, and he was just being a loyal friend. He's just being a person that always was there, even though his friend was not loyal to him. He was just that person that always was there when they all needed him. He'd always would step up. They'd call him even last minute, like, you don't even call and check up on me, but when you call and need something, I'm here though. You know what I'm saying? So I give it to Wild Bill.
Yeah, I gotta give love to top 5. Number 5, I'm gonna go with Rooster. My man Rooster Robbins. Gotta give love to Rooster Robbins, because they fleshed out his character and he showed more confidence, showed more growth in his career and in just how he presented himself. Number 4, I'll go with Ace of Spades here, because he just grew so much. It was a character I disliked in season 1, and they just gave him a nice redemption arc in season 2 here, where I was into the Condemned, and I wanted to see the Condemned succeed. So a thumbs up all across the board when it comes to that. Number 3, I'll go with Jack. Like StatKing said, he drives a lot of this show and his interactions. He's always got different storylines with depending on who he's interacting with, and especially that ending where that whole final episode, that was just some great acting and some great storytelling throughout that one. Number 2, Gully. I'm surprised no one mentioned Gully. Gully was a star in this season.
No, he was. You're right.
Star.
A very underrated moment is when they that phone conversation where they said "fuck" to each other 26 times.
Yes. Fuck. Oh, you want to fuck me? Oh, you want to fuck me? I'll bring a whole bunch of fuck to your door. Like, yo, I was like, yo, Gully is God. Gully is God. Gully is God. Look, he was like an Ari Gold type character for this drama, and I'm gonna miss him.
No, he was. He
so
really
much.
was, though.
But number 1, I agree with it's Wild Bill Hancock. Like, they made him like into this character that just seemed so narcissistic, drunk, The horrible thing he said to Willie in season 1 about, oh, I should have gave you money to abort that child, her daughter and stuff. So like they made him so downright horrible, so unredeemable, and then did episode by episode just fleshed out his character and was just like, yeah, he's horrible, but yeah, he's got this and that and this and that. How he interacted with this person, giving love to Diego, giving love to the other guys, helping the whole entire promotion with the promo classes and helping everybody out. So like, yeah, they did so much with Wild Bill's character, and especially the episode appearances when they went back in time to him and Tom, and then his reaction to Tom dying. So yeah, some great acting, great storytelling, great character work from Wild Bill. So he's definitely the MVP for the season. Do you have? I don't think I even have an LVP other than Willie. Willie is my LVP.
Willie and the mom.
Willie and
the mom. Yeah.
Well,
the mom was not there for like the second half of the season, so I just forgot about her, and they just made Willie less likable as a character. So
Willie and Papa Spade.
Oh yeah, Papa Spade. Yes.
Pride.
King Spade.
Pride goes before the fall.
King Spade, yeah, he gets it before Willie. It would be
my
top
absolutely.
3. That would be the top 3. It would be King Spade, number 1, Willie, and then Carol.
When Willie's daughter's talking about getting into schools, and she's like, with your fucking grades? Like, what are you doing?
Yo, she was totally putting down the daughter. I was like, God damn. I feel bad for this little girl. Willie was outlandish.
Hold on. My question is this. There was no actual confirmation that is actually Wild Bill's kid, right?
No.
Oh, okay. Because I was like, a part of me was wondering if that was actually Wild Bill's kid, and so she had some resentment towards the kid because of what happened with Bill. Like, I was wondering if maybe we were going to find out something like that, or if I just missed it and they really had like said it or something like that. So okay, gotcha.
No. They kind of established that all that like emotion and stuff was because she felt guilty that she did Wild Bill the way she did. Right. Like they told that story very well and tied a bow on that whole how she reacted to Bill being back in town in season 1.
Yeah.
So, but that is all for Heels all together, season 2 and as a series. Krssi Love, we'll start with you. You want to let the people know where they can follow you on social media and any final words for Heels?
Really, really sad about this, guys. I really, really enjoy this show. Something that I really like is about wrestling, and so they made a whole drama series about it, which was really, really cool. But other than that, friends, you can follow me on IG, Twitter, and on Facebook. IG is Krssi Love _1, True Hill Krssi Love on Twitter or X or whatever you want to call it, and IG Facebook is just my name. Catch us every Saturday, 11:05 a.m. True Hill Heat, Seven Face Hills every other Sunday, and we do shows like this, reviews. SP and I and all the guys, we do it all the time. We pick a show that we like, that we really enjoy, and we give you our feedback on it. So yeah.
Absolutely. StatKing.
You guys can catch me on our Patreon channel, True Hill Heat's Patreon, covering Ring of Honor for Review of Honor. We talk about everything that's interesting and that matters from Ring of Honor. You can catch me here and there popping up on Wednesdays on the Dynamite watch-alongs. And, of course, you guys can catch me on True Hill Heat Sports, covering everything that happens with football. Thanks, guys, for doing this review. I had a blast talking about the show. I really did love the show.
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna be missed, Heels. You're gonna be missed. You can follow me.
Faith we're gonna come back. I got.
We didn't know that the 10-bell salute would be for Heels.
Oh God!
God damn it, StatKing. You can find me on the Twitter machine at True Hill SP3. Follow the gang: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok at True Hill Heat. Like StatKing said, go over to True Hill Heat Sports. Subscribe over there. Patreon.com/True Hill Heat. $3 a month. Prediction Championship plus much more. And like Krssi said, check out the True Hill Heat flagship podcast. Last one was True Hill Heat 244. I don't know if 245 is out by the time this drops on the channel. Who knows? But yeah, check it out. Check all of them out on our channel right now. But for StatKing, for Miss Krssi Love, for Chris G, it is me, your True Hill Phenom SP3. This has been our Heels on Starz season 2 series finale review. We are signing off until next time.
Laters.
Bye, heels.
Bye.
Face to come home. Face to come home.